Hi there, my name is Taro Iwamoto. I am a Feldenkrais practitioner, and in today's video I'm going to guide you through a short Feldenkrais movement lesson that will help you with your back pain and improve the functions of your back. So you're going to be lying down on your back. I have some general recommendations on how to do a lesson. I highly recommend you watch the entire video first and to become familiar with the instructions and the movement sequence. And that way, when you actually start the lesson, you can just listen to instructions and pay more attention to your own movements and your own body. And when you actually do a lesson, and move very slowly, so it's easier for you to notice difference in how you're moving, and move within your own comfort range. And don't push it and don't strain yourself. And going to give yourself a hug. You're going to wrap yourself around with your arms and reach your arms as far towards the back of your shoulders as you can. So first, you're going to use your right hand and to lift your right shoulder away from the floor, and then lift it a little bit. So can you feel how the right shoulder lifts away from the floor, and then you kind of roll your chest turns to the left slightly, and then let it come back. And try not to force yourself to turn and lift your shoulder, and just use a light pressure and use your left hand to lift your right shoulder away, just enough that the right shoulder moves and then the left shoulder moves down to the ground, and then let it come back. And keep the movement very small, and move slowly, and pay attention to your breathing. It's easy to hold your breath to do that, and don't hold your breath. And try to just let your chest turn to the left as you lift your right shoulder away from the floor. And then if it's easier to let your head turn to the left also, or let your head turn to the right, whichever directions. If it wants to turn, let it turn, that's fine. And at any point, your arms, your shoulders get a little tired, and just uncross your arms and simply just to put your arms down and rest. And switch the crossing of your arms. And do the same thing. You're going to lift your right shoulder away from the floor, using your left hand. Same movement. You only switch the crossing of your arms, but everything is the same. You can turn your head to the left or turn your head to the right. But just move and trying to find a way that you can move very easily and comfortably, which means you have to reduce unnecessary effort, which could be holding your breath, which could be tensing your chest, tensing your stomach muscles, and tensing your neck or the jaw. Okay, go ahead and take a break. Now return to the same position. So you can have your arms, cross your arms in either directions, either way. And this time, use your right hand to lift your the left shoulder away from the floor and to turn your chest to the right. And notice any difference. Easier to turn to the right or easier to turn to the left. It's probably either harder or easier because of the habitual patterns we all have. And each time you do the movement, find a way to make it easier, make it more comfortable. Increasing effort and forcing the movement is not the way to make the movement easier and lighter and more comfortable. And the way that you can actually make the movement easier is by slowing down the movement, by reducing the effort, so that you can start to let go of unnecessarily muscular patterns and habitual muscular patterns that is getting in the way of doing this movement. So what do you do with your hand? Is it easier for you to turn your hand, or is it easier for you to turn your head to the right or the left, or to hold your head still? And if your arms get tired, feel free to stop, pause the video, and come back. We can always switch the crossing of your arms. And continue a few more times. And as you're doing this movement, and can you feel how the contact shifts on your shoulders, on your back? And can you feel how the weight shifts over to the right side? And how far down in yourself, in your trunk, in your spine, in your ribs, and can you feel the weight transferring and taking place? Is it only the shoulders, or does it go all the way down to your hips too? So if you pay attention to do that, what happens to the pelvis? Is there any weight shift happening in your pelvis? Or is the pelvis is not moving and participating at all? Go ahead and take a pause. Now, put your left leg down long. And leave your right leg bent. And lift your right hip. And let your pelvis turn to the left. And come back. And make sure just you're letting your pelvis to turn instead of lifting your back and lifting your pelvis. You're rolling the pelvis to the left by lifting your right hip, like so. Okay, so just to feel how the weight shifts to the left side, and can you feel the weight shifting across the pelvis and then also across your back. And now pause. Okay, and give yourself a big hug again. Then we're going to combine the movement, lifting your right shoulder and then the lifting right hip. You can initiate first by lifting your right hip and then rolling the pelvis to the left. And can you visualize that spine, the whole spine is going to now rotate and turn to the left. And then going to rotate the entire spine, and then the chest is also beginning to turn. And you can assist with your left hand to guide your shoulders, guide your right shoulder to lift away from the floor. So the whole body is beginning to roll onto the left side. And then when you let go of your leg and let the pelvis return, and the rest of the body is going to follow the pelvis and then return into the ground. Okay, and now switch legs. Right leg long on the floor, and then left leg bent. And lift your left hip and turn the pelvis to the right. Or roll the pelvis to the right. Once again, it's not lifting your back or the pelvis, it is rolling. It's the rolling by lifting your left hip, rolling. And feel the weight transfers across the pelvis, across your back. Reduce an effort. Don't tense your back, don't tense your stomach muscles. Don't hold your breath. And once this movement becomes a little easier, smoother, and add your arms. And begin by pressing your feet, the left foot into the ground to roll the pelvis to the right. And continue rolling the pelvis, and then allowing that rolling and turning and take a place and move through the entire spine, and so that your chest is also beginning to turn to the right. And you can use your right hand to lift your left shoulder, and then when you let go of your leg and let the pelvis return, and you're unwinding and let everything return to the starting point. Okay, now bend your legs, both legs, and hug yourself, and use your left hand to lift your right shoulder away from the floor, and notice how you lift your right shoulder now. Is it easier than the first time you did it? And you try the other side too. Alright, and that's it.